Hello everyone, I'm Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and money color commentator. On today's show, transitioning into retirement, part one of our Wiser Advisor series with financial advisor Barbara Penn Atkins. Welcome to the show, Barbara.
Good morning. Happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you here, and I have to say, we're giving you kudos. You are the matriarch of all that is retirement.
Oh,
I mean, you help people transition into retirement, and not just the money side.
Absolutely.
Well, tell me a little about your retirement. You start out, you're living the dream, and you're drinking your own Kool-Aid.
I am, Steve, indeed. One of the things I did is immediately after I closed my company in Michigan, I was wondering, what am I going to do? And I said, I know. I'm going to play golf and play more golf and become a competitor with Tiger Woods.
Wow, there's
and
a dream.
Be a tiger lily out there. And but after several weeks of that, it was boring, chasing that little white ball all across this green grass, because I felt within that there was more to me than just being out here. There were people out there that needed some sort of solutions to the issues of their pre-retirement that they were going through. There were people out there were bored to death once they had retired, and then they didn't have an alternative.
Now, a lot of these people had their financial part in order.
Oh, finances were definitely in order.
So no problem there.
None whatsoever. It wasn't the money. It was about them. And they were just wondering, what will I do next with my life? And I sought and researched to see how I could get involved in this new immersion of all of the baby boomers that were coming on site. Because you got to remember, I had already retired, but I was beginning to read all of the detailed information as to the boomers coming to surface. And I said, there is a market. Because prior to my retirement, my husband and I owned an executive search firm, of which we did recruiting for the major Fortune 500 companies. And my role in the company was to coach and work with college grads and coaching them to get through the door to then achieve to the glass ceiling. And I figured once I had retired, these baby boomers are on the scene. What's next for them? Who's going to prepare them to merge what they have already done in finance, knowledge, skills, and experience with what they want for satisfaction?
When should they start thinking about this? I don't want to be thinking about this 5 years after I retired.
No, you don't.
So how early should I start thinking about this?
A person in their mid-30s,
30s?
in their 30s, they should start anyone 20 to up to 3 years before retirement should look at what's next over and beyond the financial picture that I am already prepared to. But they really should get into it in their mid-40s and closer to the midlife of 50s. And at that point, look at what's involved. Steve, would you believe that there are at least 15 factors that has to be considered in a readiness program? In my toolbox, when I'm working with individuals, group sessions, or one-on-one coaching, the first question I want to ask them is, what do you do now that you are retiring from that stellar career of yours? How do we move from success to significance? How do we call upon those deferred dreams of ours to implement them into another type of program? They haven't thought about that. They haven't thought about how satisfied they are with life at the present time. Some say, oh, I am fully satisfied. Yes, give you 3 years, maybe less than that. If we could get in place for many of the baby boomers, even the millenniums now that are coming along, and there's about 80-some million of those that's going to add to the 76 million of the current baby boomers. That means this demographics of aging is going to just explode. Get them started early in preparing for a life that they want to live, a life that they richly deserve.
Okay, now I love your analogy because you are a major golfer. You love golf. But it sounds like even though that was a major hobby in your life, it didn't bring, you used the word significance. Now, tell me, what are baby boomers looking? Are they looking for significance when they retire?
They are. Many of them are. And what does the significance mean? It has several meanings to it. Number one, you may not want to definitely terminate working altogether. Working sometimes helps another phase of that fulfillment. So why not move into an encore career? You could even take your knowledge and experience and skills and repurpose them and set up a consulting company and consult them back to the company you just left. Or there are many companies out there that could use that value add as they're beginning to train and develop the new millenniums.
Now, have you seen some of your clients, people that have come to you to get preparedness in retirement for this new life of significance? We're not talking about the money side of this.
Right.
Are they now doing this consulting, kind of a hybrid retirement?
Absolutely. I have a client that was out in Denver. She was laid off from a pharmaceutical firm, and she was at the VP level. And she was panicking. She found me on LinkedIn. And she says, how can you help me? I don't know what to do with myself. And so she couldn't find another job. See, many of the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, energetic, full of vitality, boomers out there, they find it difficult to find another job. Age, ageism, and those critical components is what's holding many of them back. So I says, girl, repurpose yourself. Repurpose your knowledge, skills, and experience. Reinvent yourself into something else. And she says, well, what would I do? I says, call upon your strongest strength. Whatever it is that you've always dreamed of doing, but never have had time to do. And I says, and pursue that and turn it into a business.
And did she do that?
Did she? She most certainly did. She took all of her experiences that she'd had for working with major pharmaceutical firms over the years and with her applications into the medical environment. She knew the impact of stress on the older people. Stress leads to depression. Depression leads to pharmaceuticals. Pharmaceuticals leads to more medications. And this is why our health care is going up. It's because there's not been that intervention of how to approach from a holistic
Did it cost her a lot of money to reinvent herself and actually become another business, standalone business?
She worked with me, I think, about 3 months. And she got the picture. And she proceeded from there. Of course, she had already had her financials in place and she had adequate funds. But then I also coached her on how to take advantage of like the SBA and our SCORE to get all of those necessary things. Another friend of mine who works with women in setting up business in the Denver area, she was an ideal person to work with her from that point on. So she continued. As to how much money she spent to set it up, I don't know as to whether or not she borrowed or whatever the case may be. But I do know that SCORE, SBDC, the SBA were major components in motivating her further to continue what she's doing.
And now she's got a full practice of her own.
Oh, now she has a full practice of her own.
She's working pretty much full time.
Well, no, she's not.
She's doing a little bit of each.
She's doing a little bit of it. She is working. She set her, first of all, I asked her to start on a time management scale for herself. Be in charge of your own time. If you want to work your business at least 20 to 30 hours a week, then give it your 8 to 10 hours a day. But then put in some extra of those other hours for balancing the lifestyle that you want, whether it's walking on the beach or skiing out in Breckenridge. That was it.
So when we're looking at these ideas, baby boomers are not prepared. They don't know what to do for their their significant lifestyle. And you're coming in with a whole new game, because this is beyond the financial part of it. This is part. Before we close the segment, Barbara, tell me, if you had to say one thing that you found out of your 15 different things in your toolbox, give me your one that you say is so important.
how to, for work reorientation. How are you going to reorient yourself into this new phase of life? That's the word. That's
Reorientation.
key. Reorientation. How do you reorient yourself?
Well, don't forget to watch our next segment on demystifying your financial statements, part 2 of our Wiser Advisor series. And keep in mind, before moving forward with any of the ideas on our show, always check with your tax consultant, legal counsel, or your financial advisor. You've been watching Steve Savant's Money. The name of the game.